Is everybody doing okay this morning? Good. How many of us have ever been lonely? I would imagine everybody's hand in here should be in the air. Some of us higher than the other. You don't have to answer this next question. How many of us are regularly lonely today, even now, like maybe some of us even on a daily basis, even being surrounded by people, being surrounded by family and jobs and community? We're still lonely, right? I know a lot of us, some of us in this room, we come to church. If we have kids, we drop them off in our family ministry. We come in, we worship, we hear the word. We might, after the service, we chat a little bit, and then we leave, and we're lonely. Even, like I said, if we're with other people. In 2024, the Surgeon General actually declared that we are in the midst of a loneliness epidemic. I mean, those are pretty serious words. If you want to put the graph up. Interestingly, just this week, and new statistics came out. This is a Gallup report. Daily loneliness edges up to 20% of U.S. adults. 1 in 5 U.S. adults say that they daily feel disconnected. And if you look up on the chart, you'll see 2020, 2021, the numbers are like higher than usual, right? That was during the pandemic. That makes sense. But then they start to go down. But if you'll see, we're beginning to trend up again. And those numbers are actually higher than they've been in 2 years. They're higher than they've been since the epidemic, and that is not good news. 52 million U.S. adults feel a sense of disconnect. And to make the news even better, Indiana is the 8th loneliest state. So you would think maybe with social media that we would become more connected, right? But it's actually the opposite. We're becoming more isolated than we've ever been. So I want to share a quick video this morning. It's about 3 minutes, and it has to deal with a person who is experiencing homelessness. My message is not about that, but this really goes to the heart of what I'm going to talk about today. So can we watch the video, please?
I'm really sorry to start you, but I just wanted to give you this. Here you go.
Why?
Why not? I just wanted to help out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's very nice of you. What's your name?
My name is Kareem, and yours?
Mark. God bless you.
No problem, man. Nice to meet you, Mark.
Nice to meet you too. Do you want to sit? Sit just for a minute, maybe?
Yeah. Okay. Of course.
Thanks.
I got nothing to do. How you doing?
All right. I've been better. It's tough.
I know. I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, I know it's just really hard.
Do you have a minute? Can you just stay here for 1 minute?
Yeah.
Just 1 minute. Don't
Yeah.
go anywhere.
But where are you going though?
I'll be right back. Just wait 1 minute.
Okay. Okay. Hey, how you doing, Mark? What's this? You didn't have to. The money was for you, man.
For you.
Thank you.
Please take it.
Okay, thank you so much, man.
Will you sit here with me for a little bit?
Of course I will. Oh, this is my favorite.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it.
Thank you so much, Mark. But you really didn't have to, though.
We've had a big deal in a while.
Hey, man, if it makes you happy. Oh, I love this.
Glad you're here with me.
I'm glad too.
It's lonely out here. People walk by and they ignore me. You got less than the general alive.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that people ignore you, but you know, you are definitely alive, you're breathing, and that's all that matters. And you're just as important as anyone else out here.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, man.
It's great just to sit out here with someone.
Yeah, definitely is, man. Well, I'm gonna chill here with you if you don't mind, so I hope I don't annoy you.
Wow, trust me.
I want you to know that, there's people out there who do care and we're willing to help if you guys ask. Don't be ever ashamed for asking any help, We've all been there, we've all needed help. I guess you just really wanted someone to spend time with you, huh? Well, I'm honored that I'm that person. Because you're a cool guy, Mark.
Nice, isn't it? When we consider people like that who experience homelessness, we often think about the food and the shelter and the water and the money and the clothes that they need, but we don't often consider their need for friendship and the need for relationship, because we were made for more than just a passing hello, right? And a passing nod. We were made to connect with each other on an intimate level. And so it's no wonder that relationships are a major theme in the Bible. Genesis 1:1 starts with God, right? In the beginning, God was there, and God is a triune God, right? Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, all in one, always in relationship with each other. A life of continuous love, of continuous fellowship, of intimate communion and conversation with each other. And we were made in his image. And so we were made to be in relationship with each other. If we were to open our Bibles to Genesis 2, we would find ourselves in the sixth day of creation. And prior to the sixth day, God created all the things, and after everything he said, it's good, it's good, it's good, right? But then when he got to the sixth day, for the very first time, he proclaimed something was not good. And what wasn't good was for man to be alone. And it's not just about being okay. Actually, let me step back a second. This was before sin entered the picture. This was before the fall of man. And so it wasn't like something was bad because of sin. What was bad was for man to be isolated and alone and not to have companionship. And so this need, there's an ache that we have that God built into us because we bear his image. We need to be in relationship with one another. And so as a result, of course, God creates Eve, a companion, a relationship. And just know, when I talk about Adam and Eve, I'm not talking about just their marriage. I'm talking about them being in relationship. Of course, the marriage component is very vital. That's a main component of the creation story, but that's not what I'm talking about today. Marriage is definitely part of it, but I'm really talking about all relationships and all friendships. Proverbs 18:1 says, "Whoever isolates himself seeks his own desire. He breaks out against sound judgment." When we are living without friends, or we're living like maybe friends are not necessary, like we can just do it all on our own, it goes against the very grain of who we are as human beings. And I think here in the United States, we really put a lot of emphasis on being individuals and being independent, right? Like we take great pride in that. We think that our spirituality is just very private, a very personal, private thing. And I will agree, our spirituality is personal, right? Like that is definitely a component to who we are, is having a private spirituality. However, it was never meant to be private. It's meant to be personal. It's not meant to be private. We are supposed to do our spirituality together. It's not just something we do on our own. And so when we read Proverbs 18:1, do we value friends the same way Proverbs 1 does? And actually that's a different version. Let me read the one that I said. Whoever isolates himself seeks his own desire. He breaks out against all sound judgment. So it's whoever isolates himself. So do we value friends the same way? If we put our lives under a microscope and really looked at how we spend our time and what we value, what our priorities are, where would friendship fall? Where would it fall? Because relationships are vitally important. And so today I want to look at 4 characteristics of true and good friends. And when I talk about good friends, I'm not talking about just the acquaintances. I'm talking about the core people that you're really let into your life. The first thing, good friends encourage godly character. Proverbs 13:20 says, "Walk with the wise and become wise. Associate with fools and get in trouble." We become like our friends. We've all been influenced, I'm sure. I know I have, positively and negatively by the people that we're around. Let me give you an example. This is kind of a fun example. My husband, he knows I'm going to talk about him today. Got off track there. I always know when he's talking to his family on the phone because he develops this Colorado drawl. And I don't know if you realize that Colorado talks a little differently than we do, but it's so obvious. When he does not do this with anybody else when he's on the phone, but when he's on the phone with them, it is very clear who he's talking to without me even knowing, because the way he talks completely changes, and it is the funniest thing. And that's just a silly little example, but it does go to show how we do change depending on who we're around. Let me give you a more serious example. When I was in high school, probably freshman or sophomore year, I would guess, my best friend, who I'd been best friends with for several years, we were close. We weren't part of the cool kids club. I know, shocker. I wasn't part of the cool kids club, but I wasn't an outcast. I was more of the everybody's friend club. That's kind of where I lived in high school. But my best friend started hanging out with the cool kids. Now, they weren't the cool kids that were like mean to people as far as like beating them up and that kind of thing. It wasn't that kind of cool kids. It was more behind the scenes cool kids, like, just being too cool, like talking about people and being snarky toward people and really more like talking about people and behind their backs and doing things they probably definitely should not have been doing. Now, I didn't hang out with those cool kids, but my best friend did. And she started to be influenced by them, and she started changing. And I was always around my best friend. And so guess who was influenced by her best friend? I found myself maybe not going to the same extreme, but I definitely found myself laughing at some of the jokes and doing things I'm just really not proud of, honestly. And it was all because I was being influenced by the people that I was around. And so we are all suggestible. We all take on the characteristics of the people that we're around, and it does not matter if you are 5 years old, if you are 15 years old, if you are 95 years old. It does not matter. We think that once we reach a certain age or a certain maturity level that we're maybe not suggestible anymore, but that's absolutely not true. We are always subject to peer pressure no matter the age. That's what Proverbs says. So husbands and wives, if you spend time around people who are constantly cutting their spouses down and aren't being encouraging and uplifting, you're going to find yourself doing the same thing. Or maybe it's you're hanging out with people who are insulting others and are being negatively, like really sarcastic toward others, or making fun of others, or being cynical toward others. You're likely to take on those attributes. If you spend time with mean people, if you spend time with bullies, if you spend time with people who are not, and again, let me say that I'm talking about the core people that you spend your time with. If they are not pushing you toward Jesus, they're doing things contrary to that, then you are probably going to end up doing the same thing. And so when it comes to friendship, we do have a choice. And this is incredibly important. Proverbs 12:26 says, "The godly give good advice to their friends. The wicked lead them astray." Proverbs 22:24 and 25 says, "Don't befriend angry people or associate with hot-tempered people, or you will learn to be like them and endanger your soul." Our relationships that we are in, they contribute to the direction that we're going in life. The wicked lead us astray. If we're befriending angry or hot-tempered people, we learn to be like them and endanger our souls. And why is this? Because our friends rub off on us. Character is contagious, whether it's positive or whether it's negative. It does rub off on us. So choose your friends wisely, and good friends encourage godly character. Number 2. Good friends keep confidences. Proverbs 11:13 says, "A gossip goes around telling secrets, but those who are trustworthy can keep a confidence." Now, when it talks about a gossip here, some translations call this a talebearer. And this talebearer is a malicious slanderer. This is the person who uses your secrets to try to hurt you. They're the ones who try to get something for themselves out of it. It's the person who is deliberately spreading gossip and rumors. There is always drama surrounding this person. They're going to spread lies and they're going to spread rumors. They're going to twist the truth. They're going to tell others about it. They're going to, post it on social media, or they're going to text their friends or whatever. They're just going to get the word out, and they're going to spread the stuff. This person is saying, I'm going to use this relationship and what I know about you, because I know where you're vulnerable, to hurt you so that I have leverage. Proverbs 29 is similar. It starts the same. It says, a gossip goes around telling secrets, but then it says, so don't hang around with chatterers. The difference in this is the chatterer is this person who just cannot help himself. He gets the information and just has to share it. You find out you're pregnant, so you tell this person because this is your friend, and you're so excited, but you're like, I wanted to tell you, but don't tell anyone else for a couple of months because we want to announce it, and we want to really wait until we get past the first trimester. But this person, the next thing you know, your phone is blowing up with texts and phone calls. Oh my gosh, congratulations. Because this person just cannot help themselves. They can't hold it in. It's not out of malice. They just can't hold it in. They've got this information, and it just flows from their mouths like water from a spigot. They just cannot help it. Good friends keep confidences. Number 3. Actually, no, I'm not going on yet. I have something else to say about that. I'm sorry. Healthy relationships require an environment of trust, and that's basically what this is. Without this environment of trust, growth cannot occur. It isn't safe for us to be vulnerable when we're around people who are going to talk about what we talk about. One word of caution, have you ever met somebody who is always coming to you and telling you other people's stuff? Somebody who just happens to know things and they're always telling you. If a person is always coming to you and telling you other people's things, you can pretty much be assured that they're taking your stuff and they're sharing it with other people too. And Proverbs says, do not associate with a gossip. Do not associate with a chatterer. They can create an environment of mistrust, of damage, of pain, of drama. And that's not an environment where healthy growth can happen well. And so I think this morning some of us probably need to consider, are my friends these types of people that are spreading drama and creating an unsafe environment because they can't keep these sensitive things to themselves? Or am I that person? Am I the gossip? Am I the chatterer? Because a good friend keeps confidences. Number 3, good friends give honest counsel. Proverbs 27:6 says, wounds from a sincere friend are better than many kisses from an enemy. And Proverbs 27:9 says, the heartfelt counsel of a friend is as sweet as perfume and incense. It is better to be momentarily hurt by a friend who gives you honest input than it is to be flattered by someone who does not have your best interest at heart. For someone to say, here's an area where you need to grow, here's an area where you need to change, here are some weaknesses I see in your life and you may not see them. And when you look at these two verses, The heartfelt counsel of a good friend is both truthful and it's kind. And I think in some relationships, a good friend is either truthful or kind, not both. The person who's truthful but isn't kind about it, they're critical. And they always complain, and they're unkind with their words or their tone. On the other extreme, if a person is kind but not truthful, then they don't say what needs to be said. And they allow the issues to build up, whether it's out of a fear of being unkind or hurting someone or fear of some kind of backlash, because and I can say this from personal experience because this is the camp that I used to live in. It was hard for me to speak up and say what needed to be said because I feared, I was insecure. I just couldn't, it was hard for me to be truthful. Let me give you an example. In my life, I have benefited greatly by people I know and trust who have been willing to pull me aside and say, hey, here's this thing that I see in your life, and it probably ought to change. Not because I think it should change, but because it's not because it bothers me, but it's because it's inconsistent with who you are. It's inconsistent with the character of God in your life. A few years ago, a friend came to me and said, Tana, you might want to look at this area because you're really kind of being defensive about things. Now, I denied feeling that way. It hurt. It did not make me happy. I was wounded. Like the verse said, it hurt. I mean, to think that my friend thought that I was being defensive when I knew I wasn't being defensive, they just didn't understand. But I took it to God, and I talked to more trusted friends, my spiritual director, my mentor, and my eyes were open to the truth. I was being defensive, and I just didn't see it. These people who have come to me in my life, they are the ones who have had the greatest impact on my life because they are the people I can trust. They're the people who have invested in me. And it's been over a period of time so that in the right timing and in the right way and in the right spirit, they can come to me with the truth, and I can receive that wise counsel from them because that's what good friends do. It's also the nature of God. He loves us enough to tell us the truth, and he's honest, and he's truthful, and he's kind. Rebukes are not fun. They hurt sometimes, and it can make us feel like we're wounded. But when honest counsel is spoken in truth by a true friend, this proverb says, such words are sweet as perfume and incense. Proverbs 27:17 says, as iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend. Friends challenge each other, strengthen each other, and sharpen each other. And this process of sharpening iron is not a gentle process. It is rough. It takes friction. It takes heat. And sometimes it even takes hammers. It's a hard process. It's a process of being honed and refined. And there's a mutual benefit when you rub these two blades together. The edges get sharper, and they become more efficient and better equipped to cut and slice, which is what they are created to do. What's really interesting about this is that it happens on a microscopic level where these tiny, dull metal edges, they're being bent and forced into a razor-sharp edge. And I love that, and I mention that because when we are in relationships where iron sharpens iron, the same thing happens to us on a heart level. It's not an easy process where you just encourage each other and cheer each other on and tell each other what you want to hear. In other words, it's not flattery. It's being encouraged, and it's being challenged, and it's being sometimes pushed back on. It's being willing to hear the things that are hard to hear, or if you're saying it, it's saying the things that are hard to say because we know our friends love us. They're willing to say the hard things because they know the potential that we have and what we've been created to be and who we've been created to be and what we've been created to do. And I know it can be uncomfortable. It can be incredibly uncomfortable. It takes being close to someone and being vulnerable with someone. It means letting somebody else in. It means removing your mask And it means being vulnerable. But good friends do give good counsel. And the fourth thing, good friends are constant. Proverbs 17:17 says, a good friend is always loyal, and a brother is born to help in time of need. And Galatians 6:2 goes along with this. Share each other's burdens, and in this way, obey the law of Christ. So when we look at that Proverbs, it says a friend is always loyal and is born to help in the time of need. So two core parts of relationships according to this, loyalty and support. A true friend is somebody who is there with you through all seasons of life, the good times, the hard times, the challenging times, the mundane times, the changing times, and all the in-between times. They're willing to give up their own enjoyment and their own activities to be there with you when you're in a difficult time. And this kind of friendship takes work, and it takes grace. As we know, relationships are messy. People are messy. Life is messy. We mess up, we make mistakes, and we hurt each other, right? But if we want to go deep in our relationships, how we deal with the messiness determines how deep we're going to go in those relationships. Proverbs 17:9 says, love prospers when a fault is forgiven, but dwelling on it separates close friends. For friendships to be constant, we have to be able to seek and give forgiveness. And there is no place for resentment. Friends who can't get over the past, friends who hold grudges, will not be friends for long. Definitely won't be those good friends that we're talking about today, because these are the kinds of things that will kill relationships. We cannot dwell on each other's mistakes. This proverb says that dwelling on faults separates close friends, but where there is forgiveness, love prospers. 1 Corinthians 13:7 is talking about a similar thing. Love never gives up. It never loses faith. It's always hopeful, and it endures through every circumstance. So if we're going to go off of this, if true friendship is going to be constant, we can also assume that friendship is going to take time. For a friend to show a love that never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance, that is going to take time. There is no fast track to lasting friendships. Rather, friendships are cultivated through time, spent together, loving one another, being faithful to one another daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. It takes time if we're going to be good friends who are constant. And so as application this morning, I would want to encourage you to really reflect on your current relationships, reflect on your current friendships. Who in your life acts as iron sharpening iron? Are you engaging in friendships that challenge you to grow closer to God? I encourage you to take time to cultivate these relationships. Don't wait for someone to befriend you. Look for someone to befriend. Initiate conversations that encourage growth, spiritual growth. Be open to honest counsel and be willing to offer it even when it's hard. And you may ask where to find such relationships. Look around you. There are people in this room, I'm sure, who would love to be a friend. Attend a small group. That's what we do. We do life together. And what happens in group stays in group. It doesn't go outside of that group. Attend church activities. I just want to encourage you to put yourself in the midst of places where you can join with others who are pursuing Jesus, who are following Jesus. Consider being mentored or mentoring others. I have 2 mentors. I really encourage you to move friendship up on your list of priorities. But know that this is more than a call to friendship. It is an invitation to transformational community. When we allow others to sharpen us and we sharpen others, we are participating in God's design for growth. This is what He created us to do. it has bigger implications than just our personal lives. And yes, it definitely affects us personally, but there are layers to where this goes. It individually strengthens us, but also it strengthens the collective body of Christ, and it equips us to more effectively serve in his kingdom. So we can go out in the community and do what he has given us to do. And so some of us may be aware this morning that we need to maybe rethink some of the relationships in our lives. I mean, maybe you have some friendships that you need to step back from a little bit. And I'm not saying that you don't care about them and you don't love them and you don't want the best for them and you don't pray for them. Absolutely, that's not what I'm saying at all. There may be those relationships that you might need to step back from because they aren't influencing you in a way that is pointing you to Jesus. Some of us, on the other hand, may be saying, I'm not a friend like I'm being called to do, and I actually see myself in some of those negative things, and I really need to work on that, and I need to get before God and repent even and ask him to help. And so whichever your camp you're in, or if you're in both, I just really want to encourage you, be encouraging. Keep confidences. Give honest counsel and be constant. And then in the same way, look for these things in your friends and choose your friends wisely. And so I want to close with this. The ultimate friend is, of course, Jesus. John 15:13 says, there is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. And while we were sinners, while we were separated from God, while we were far away, what did Jesus do? He died for us, right? He gave his life on our behalf. And that is the character of Jesus, who is our friend. If you know him this morning, your mission is to reflect that in your relationships, to reflect his faithfulness in your friendships, to reflect that even in the hard times, you're there, just like Jesus did when we were far away from him. If you're here this morning and you've not yet entered into a relationship with Jesus, I've got some great news for you this morning. There is a perfect friend who represents all of these characteristics and more, and he wants to be your friend forever. And once you know him, then you have the opportunity to through his Spirit, reflect the same things to the other relationships that you're in. And so if you choose to say yes to friendship with Jesus this morning, I would love to know if you will come talk to me or Pastor Seth. We want to pray with you. We want to learn how we can walk alongside you and help you in this journey, how we can be your friend. Good friends draw us closer to Jesus and help us reflect the character of God. That's what they do, and that's also what we are called to do. So let's pray this morning.